Hello friends, Those Back Pages here. I hope you're well. I just realized I should have written something down before I pushed record, but we'll just keep rolling with it here because that's how we do here on the channel with our nice little community. And before I get started on tonight's topic, I just want to reiterate how excited I am that the show is next week. That's right. The National is next week. It's been a 2-year wait for this, and I am just so freaking excited. I just can't wait to see my friends, hang out, talk about cards, maybe pick up some cards, maybe trade some cards, maybe even sell some cards. Cards. So, obviously, I've had a couple friends come up to me and say, hey, I think I want to go. But everything is booked, so I can't go. I understand. But if you can still make it work somehow, I cannot recommend it enough. Because, next week is a show, and then in 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about Atlantic City. But, let's enjoy Chicago first. Because, nothing is guaranteed in this life. But one thing I wanted to add that I forgot to mention in the last episode talking about why you must go to the National and, tips for beginners and not so beginners and all of that jazz. The one thing I do recommend you add to your, not repertoire, but you add to your bag is a power bank, I guess technically is the name of it. I picked this one up. They're available on Amazon for $25. It might be a little late. I got this one at Target. It was $5 more just because I have it and I don't have to worry about it. And I wanted it comes in black, white, and rose gold. And I wanted the black one, and Amazon was sold out of the black one, which was $5 cheaper than the other two colors. I don't understand, but it is what it is. This is what it looks like, and it's got. You push this button on the side here, and it tells you the level of power battery, 4 being the highest, and it can plug in, 2 regular USBs and some USB or whatever. I'm not technically advanced, but maybe if you can see that, it'll make sense to you. But you just plug in your USB regular, and then the other end into the cell phone, or even I guess even a iPad would work as well. It's not that heavy. It's not that cumbersome. It's kind of cool with that. It did take forever to charge, but it's a Belkin, which all the reviews I read on it were pretty good. Tried to watch some YouTube videos on it because that's the best way to actually find out how these things are. And, was good enough that I felt comfortable spending the $30. I've spent $30 on much worse. So have you. Most likely. So, a well-rounded rookie card collection. I think that's what I'm going to go with the name of it. Sometimes I shoot these videos and then I don't. Then I'll come up with the title. Sometimes I'll come up with the title and it makes me fill out the video itself. But this is something I've discussed before on the channel, and I'll probably discuss again because it's a passion of mine. And collecting can be expensive. Now, I'm not going to bring out all the big boys, but I'm fortunate enough to own a lot of nice cards. But it's because I've been doing this a long time. Now, the thing to keep in mind is when I bought all these cards, like my Trout Update 10 cost me $50. Let me say that again. My Trout rookie update PSA 10 cost me $50. It is what it is. I've been collecting a long time. Now do I think another, flagship, Topps flagship card will reach the Trout heights? Probably not. Will other players surpass Trout? 100% they will. Is it anyone that's playing right now? Tomorrow never knows. But you have to collect, you have to enjoy what you're collecting. And when I've done these type of things in the past, I've had people say, "Oh, don't tell me what to collect. Don't tell me how to collect." I'm not. I think, and obviously I can only speak for myself in this world and, on YouTube especially, I suppose. But, sometimes we make videos to spread the knowledge. Sometimes we make videos because it's stuff that's in our heads. Sometimes we make videos because we want to think stuff out loud that we are going through ourselves, whatever it may be. And if that can resonate with somebody else in the community or not in the community, somebody watching, if YouTube recommends this and they say, "Hey, what's this? You matter," and share your knowledge and always learning, and what's this guy, this weird looking dude, what's all this, and whatever it may be. So, and a couple episodes back I spoke about how you've got the Topps Chrome, you've got the Topps flagship, the Topps Chrome, and the Topps Heritage. Then that's a very nice, well-rounded 3 different brands, 2 of them looking the same, and Topps Chrome. And then Heritage looking like the old school vintage cards. That's a very nice focus. And like I say always about myself and focus, I have a difficult time keeping that focus. So, and I'm working on that. It's a daily thing like everyone else. And, and part of that is, having one and then moving on to something else. But then seeing like, oh wow, I think this brand is too cheap, so I buy that. Now, we're going to discuss the 3 major sports. Sorry, hockey people. A well-rounded hockey collection can be, start with the Young Guns, SP Authentics, the Cup. That's probably the 3 I would pick. But, I'm not really collecting hockey right now. It is what it is. There's only so many hobby dollars to go around. Yeah. So, and on my lists that I'm going to go over tonight with you guys, there's no super high end. I don't collect NT. I don't collect Exquisite. I don't collect the Cup. What are some of the baseball ones? Dynasty, Triple Threads, et cetera, et cetera. I like to think that those of us that are participating in this community, although some of us can and do afford those cards, we tend to be more towards the meat and potatoes type of collectors. We enjoy learning, we enjoy collecting, we enjoy all of that good stuff that comes along with it, And for me personally, lately, like I've mentioned before, I've bought some Wander Franco, some Bobby Witt Jr., Julio Rodriguez. I just got in a sky blue first year Bowman PSA 9. That's really nice, numbered to $4.99. Pretty much for the cost of 3, the old school cost of 3 blasters. I guess that's at 3/4 of a blaster now, whatever it is. But yeah, so this is me talking through, maybe trying to convince myself, to be honest, to stay in the lane type of thing. And like I said, it's going to be all 3 sports, and I'll talk more about them individually as we go on. We'll do them alphabetically, so we'll start with MLB. And, you know, I've got 7 brands on the list here. You know, I've got Topps, which is flagship. If you're new and you're just catching this video, thank you very much. But Topps is now called flagship. It's accepted terminology for the paper traditional, you know, since 1952 Topps card. But now they make so many different, you can't just say Topps because people get confused. So it's easy to see why it's called flagship. You know, the pedigree is there. Like I said, it's been issued every year since 1952. I know they had a game card set in 51. Doesn't really count in my opinion. And again, everything I'm going to talk about tonight is my opinion. It's not a fact, it's my opinion. Which, as a content creator, I'm allowed to have my opinion. So, you know, we've got, let me get the fancy letter opener that's older than most of you watching. So we've got 52 Topps, and that's obviously, well, that's too much shine. You know, that goes, and that's going through today. You know, that's still going today for baseball. You know, and I just realized I did not I did not write flagship on the other 2 lists. Alright, well, you get the point. We'll go over it. I'll speak it on it anyway. You've got Topps Chrome, which started in 1996, still goes to this day for baseball. Bowman started in 51. Topps bought them in 55. They shelved it to 89. It came back in 88. Well, technically until 88, and then in 89 it came back. And it's been released ever since 89. Bowman Chrome, which for the most part is a chromium version of the Bowman card, and that started in 97, still goes on today. Bowman's Best started in 95, kind of a standalone. There's no paper version. It still goes to this day. Topps Finest, again, started in 93, chromium cards. Still goes to this day. No paper equivalent. Heritage started in 2001, paying homage to the 1952 set, and then the 2002 Heritage, 1953, 2003 Heritage, 1954, etc. And this year's 2021 Heritage pays homage to 1972 Topps. So we're coming to, you know, the really mid-70s, 75 is going to be really big, I think. But who knows anymore? I mean, right now Heritage is probably at an all-time low for popularity. Kind of backwards, but I think a lot of, again, you see here, these are 7 legitimate, strong brands to collect. And for the most part, everybody is covered in these. Of course, there's going to be some exceptions, but between these, all these brands, like you love Mariano Rivera, his rookie's a 92 Bowman. He's not in anything else. He's one of the rare exceptions where it doesn't have multiple rookie cards to choose from. So in my opinion, these are the top, you know, again, it's very easy to, you know, go overboard, obviously. There are different parallels for these cards, different colors, numbered, unnumbered, shiny, all that good stuff. So, you know, I do, you know, I think that some of these brands, personally, you know, I've been trying to pick up. Oh, I did leave one off. Man, I really did not do a good job. Bowman Sterling is back again. It had been out for a while, and then it went away. I think after 14, it was away. And then they brought it back in 19, so you've got Tatis, and you've got Vladimir Jr. Vladdy's in there. Oof, I did a bad job. Sorry, guys. But I think these 7, technically 8, but there's no Soto, there's no Acuna, there's no Ohtani, Bowman, Sterling, anyone from 2015, which to 2018 is a lot of good rookies in there. Chris Bryant, Lindor, Trevor Story, All Rise, whoever you may collect. But so I guess technically you could probably leave Sterling off this list, but I don't think they'll stop making it going forward. So if you're really into Tatis and Vlad Jr., it's a fine rookie-based product because there's no veteran base. There's no 2019 Bowman, Sterling, Trout base card. He has fancy autos and all that other stuff. Maybe I don't really pay attention to that. So, let's leave that there. Next up is NBA. And boy, that not writing flagship is really bothering me, but I'm not going to stop the video. So I went, and obviously the baseball ones are all active. So now we get to the other two sports. It's a little more complicated. We'll start with flagship, which I did not write on here, but that started in 57, then went away from 57 to 69. No tops. They had Fleer in the early 60s, but no tops. Then from 69 to 81, they released a set annually. And then they said, you know what, we're not going to make basketball anymore or hockey. We're stupid. We're not going to make that. And they didn't make any tops basketball from that 81-82 season was the last set until the 92-93 when Shaq was a rookie. So I guess that nudged them on to go ahead and make, I guess Jordan, Olajuwon and all those guys weren't good enough, but it is what it is. And then so in 92 they picked it up again, flagship basketball, and that ran right until 2009 when Panini got the license to exclusively make NBA cards. So you had Topps flagship for those years. Topps Chrome ran consecutively from 96 to 2009, and that has Kobe, LeBron, Curry, Durant, Harden, Westbrook, pretty much everybody from up until 2009. Hoops. Oh, we'll go with Hoop. Well, now the rest of everyone except Topps Chrome, these other brands all still exist. Hoops still exists. Panini puts it out now. It started in '89 with David Robinson, and there is a LeBron Hoops rookie, and fortunate or unfortunate, it's numbered to 1,000, so they're fairly costly now, and they're very condition sensitive. So if you're a high-end only type of collector, you're going to have a really difficult time finding a 10. I own an 8, fortunate just to have one in the collection. But Hoops is like the affordable brand, like the flagship. Again, I'm recording this the third week in July of 2021, so the prices are up, down, who the heck knows anymore. But how it used to be, Hoops was the affordable $2 pack, let's say. So then Topps losing the license in 2009. Like I said, I'm not going to talk about National Treasures, which is the high-end basketball. You've got Donruss came out in 2010. They brought Panini owns Donruss now, and they brought NBA to Donruss for the first time in 2010, and then the following year there was the lockout / strike, however you want to. I think it was a lockout, and they didn't bring out Donruss again until 2014 for some reason. So they missed the entire 12-13 double class. You know, AD, Kyrie, Clay, Jimmy Buckets, Kawhi. You know, the 12 release is just epically stacked as far as rookie cards goes. But, you know, in 2014 they brought Donruss back, and it's been released ever since. I'll segue that into Optic. Optic started in 2016 as essentially Donruss Chrome, but obviously they could not call it Donruss Chrome. It's chromium version of Donruss with multiple colors and everything else. Very popular. Honestly, 2016 wasn't popular. It didn't get popular probably till 2018-ish, maybe 17, 18-ish. And there were a lot of people saying Optic is better than Prism. That seems to have died down now quite a bit, as most of us thought it would. But Prism started in 2012. And it started for baseball, basketball, football, and even hockey in 13, the year after. So they went full bore. They didn't have a baseball license, so it was the pajama cards. But all the other sports they had the license for. Because there was that brief period where Panini and Upper Deck shared the hockey, and then they lost it again. But Prism Basketball 2012, all those rookies I mentioned when we were talking about 2012 just a minute ago, all have rookie cards in Prism. And Prism has been released every year since 2012. For football and basketball. Baseball they skipped. And hockey, like I said, they lost. But Prism is just like Topps Chrome, essentially. It is that popular. It is that in demand. The prices on wax are insane now. You know, it was a $2.99 retail product from 2012 until probably Luka, even 18 sat for a while, and then it blew up, and it's never been the same since. Talking about Prism, Hoops, Donruss, Optic, Topps Chrome, Mosaic. Funny enough, Mosaic started in 2016 for NBA, and I'll talk about football in a minute. Mosaic started, and I can't remember because it's been 5 years, but it started as a goof. They had one of those repack products with a, Mojo Mega Diamond boom, 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 boom hits type of, I think, one slab per package type of products. I can't remember for the life of me what it was called. But anyway, there were some problems with it. Something went wrong somewhere. So as a sorry consideration, pretty much Panini invented Mosaic. And it wasn't even packed out. It came in like a brick in 16. And it's essentially... It's a Prism. It used to be called Prism Mosaic, and they dropped Prism on it when they made it its own standalone. But it wasn't really popular in 16. It wasn't popular in 17. In 18, it was popular because of Luka and Trey. So, and then I think it was in 18 is when it became its I can't remember exactly. But obviously, it's not going away. It's a product that does. I mean, now they, like I said in football last year, they expanded it into football. So that's your basic rundown on the NBA brands that I consider part of a well-rounded rookie card collection. All right, next up. NFL. Again, I left Flagship off. Flagship NFL had a very nice run, started in 1956 and ended, unfortunately, in 2015 when Panini got the exclusive rights to release NFL football cards. Topps Chrome, again, like the other two sports, started in 96 and ended in 15 when they lost their license. Score Football started in 1989. Is cheap. Now, again, like I said before, when I say it's cheap, we're talking traditional times. Has been released every year since 1989. Panini, I can't remember exactly when Panini took over. They bought the license, they bought the name, and they still released Score. There were years where, like 89 has a lot of headshots. Barry Sanders, Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin's in action. Thurman Thomas is in action. But for the most part now, Score Football is a NCAA release. Like 2021 with Trevor Lawrence is already out. It's been out for weeks now, if not longer. So you're going to get the players in the college uniform. Now, that bothers a lot of people, and I can understand that. For the most part, I'm one of them, but I do like Score Football just because it's been around since 89. And after Flagship Baseball, it's the current second longest running consecutive release, I guess, with Hoops, technically, tied. But and again, it's cheap. It's usually $2 a pack. And it's affordable. Everyone is represented that you can think of. Even Kurt Warner has a Score rookie. I think pretty much every megastar, from 89 to now has represented as a Score Football rookie. Topps Chrome, unfortunately, and Topps Flagship, they missed the boat on Tom Brady. He is in Bowman and Bowman Chrome, so you can get your fix there. There's also, now that I'm thinking about it, there's also not so much for NBA, but for NFL, and I guess technically, man, I really did not think this out. So you guys are probably just yelling at me and through the screen, and rightfully so. It's Upper Deck. Man, I dropped the ball there. Upper Deck started football in 91 and then ran up until 2009, I believe. So you have all your rookies in there as well. Man, same for basketball, 91 Upper Deck basketball all the way up until 2009. Boy, I really should just delete this video altogether. But here we are, so let's finish the race. Contenders Football. I was hesitant to put this on the list because it's not a high-end product, but all the rookie cards for the most part are autographs. And they're expensive. So I don't collect Contenders. Prism, like I discussed with basketball, has been around since 2012. Optic, like basketball, started in 16. Donruss Football, they brought in for the first time in 15. So for basketball was 10 and then 14. So for 15 for football. And then Mosaic went full bore NFL in 2020. Now, the interesting dynamic is football is very difficult. Tom Brady, yes. Mahomes is probably as safe as you get for current NFL players to collect. But again, collect however you want. But I'm still on the fence about Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. They're so young. It's just a tough call, and they're not cheap. Like just tonight, I was looking at PSA 9 Justin Herbert Prism rookies, and they're like $125. So I don't know if I want to spend that for someone that might, he's going to play this year, obviously, but who knows what he's going to be like in 3 years. And that's part of the game. Like I mentioned earlier with Wander Franco and Bobby Wood Jr. and J-Rod. It's part of the game. It's part of collecting. I could bring out a whole box of poop. I was just looking through one of the, Greg Hallman rookies and Billy Roll and like John Mayberry Jr. The names go on and on. So you really have to enjoy what you're collecting, because at the end of the day, it might be crap. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's probably going to be crap. Most of these guys are going to fizzle out, but that's part of the game. It's part of collecting and enjoying yourself. Now, the thing I do want to talk about here is Prism and Optic. And I'd love to get you guys' opinions on this. And I've asked a few friends, so I'll ask a few more. So you guys watching are all my friends. And I guess this is specifically for the football guys, but hey, I listen to everybody. I don't care. I want all opinions. But since Prism started in 12, for football we're talking about now, and Topps Chrome was still around, I wonder if that kind of negates it a little bit. And I guess, you can compare what a Russell Wilson Topps Chrome goes for versus its equivalent in Prism. Probably Prism kills it now. I don't know. I'm fortunate enough to have both, but you could do that back then. So I'm wondering, and I think this myself, these are the things I think about when I'm thinking about the hobby. Is Optic a better option than Prism? Now, Optic doesn't have etching, so we know how I feel about that. But, Optic started in 16 when there was no Chrome. There was no Topps Chrome because Topps was done. So does that mean, obviously the price point doesn't reflect that. If you look at a Prism Mahomes versus an Optic Mahomes, it's like 3-1. Maybe more depending on the card's grade. So again, these are things I think about when I'm thinking about the hobby. And it is always, and I've said this, and all of you, my friends have said this and everything, it really is about the hunt. It really is unfortunately, we spend more time looking forward than looking back at what we already have.